there's a lot of principles of improvisation, and Evelyn and I have boiled it down to what we think are 5 key things. The first one, who's heard of the principle of yes and? Yes and? So what does that mean, yes and?
Rather than yes, but, you mean, right? Is
well,
it rather
as
than
opposed to yeah, if you say yeah, but to someone, you know what you're really saying?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Right.
So what does yes and mean? What do you think, Eileen?
Yes, and that you're accepting the other person's perspective as true.
Yeah.
Your own perspective.
Yeah, you accept, in improv we say accept all offers as valid. Now you don't have to agree with them. If the opposing attorney has an argument, you do not have to agree with them, but you accept their opinion or their argument as valid as opposed to negating it, right? So how many times have you sat in a meeting where somebody brings up an idea and someone says, well, that's a dumb idea, or that'll never work, and then that person feels all shut down, right? So in improv, we practice accepting other people's offers and saying that that's the yes. The and is we add information. If all we do is say, yep, but we don't add anything, then we're making the other person do all the work. So we say yes, and we add something of our own opinion. And then number 2 is be present in the moment and really listen. You cannot multitask while you're doing improv. I can tell you from experience, you cannot try and do a bunch of different stuff. You can't be distracted. You can't think about yesterday or tomorrow. You have to be right here, right now. You have to listen carefully with not only your ears, but your eyes, and with an open mind and open heart. How many of you think that just might be helpful for attorneys? Being present. If you're thinking about that case you lost last week and it's keeping you from being effective in this case, you're in trouble, right? You gotta be right here, right now. And the third principle, in addition to accept all offers, be present, the third one is, lost the phone.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all about dealing with uncertainty. No apology needed, Kyle. The third one is trust. You have to trust each other. You co-create. In improv, you're writers as well as actors. You're creating a story in real time because there's no script. You're creating that script. And if any one person is trying to drive the scene and do the whole thing, the other players are not going to want to play with that person because they're taking all the fun out of it. You know, you might as well do a scripted piece of work because someone's directing. Everybody adds a piece of it. You co-create together. Now, as attorneys, even if you're solo representing a client, how many of you can think of people that you're working collaboratively with and you have to co-create? At the very least, your client, right? And maybe some witnesses, and you're dealing with the judge, you're dealing with the opposing attorney because you have to maybe come to an agreement. Maybe there's a plea bargain. There's all kinds of ways that you're working collaboratively with people. Anybody here involved in alternative dispute resolution? Ever? I see some nodding. Okay, Vincent. So that's a great example of collaboration, right? When you're doing mediation. And your goal is to make the other person look good. Not to make yourself look good and grandstand, but to make the other person look good. If you're the type of attorney whose goal is to get up there and just be amazing and have everybody think how wonderful you are, instead of making your client look good, that's probably not the best idea. And number 4 is be flexible and adaptable to change. Because I like this phrase, shift happens. There's an F in there, shift happens, things happen, things change, and you got to roll with it. And the last one is number 5, and again, you receive these, is think outside of the box. Because if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten, and you'll never move forward. So this is where it also comes in about taking intelligent risks and accepting mistakes as gifts. That's part of risk-taking. In real life, when we make a mistake, what do we tend to do to ourselves? Anybody, what do you tend to do? You made a mistake.
Sometimes you beat yourself down, right?
Yep. I know I've done it. How many of us have done that? We've beaten ourselves up. We've probably all done it. In improv, we train ourselves to accept mistakes as gifts. When we make a mistake in improv, we go, woohoo! It's the improv cheer. It's very liberating. Now, there are so many areas of life where if you make a mistake, you could get in trouble. Like you're doing the budget and you accidentally add an extra zero, or in your taxes, or you're a brain surgeon and you take out, the wrong part of the brain. I mean, there could be consequences, right? There could be consequences in practicing law, I'm sure. But the very liberating thing about improv is if we make a mistake, we accept it and we move on. And there are probably times in our life where the mistake is not so horrible and we need to accept it and move on. So you now have my permission, Evelyn's permission, everyone's permission. If you make a mistake during this workshop, do not beat yourself up. We're going to practice the improv cheer. On the count of 3, we're going to go, woohoo! Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! So please do that if you make a mistake, and we will laugh with you. We're not laughing at you, we're laughing with you, and we'll just start over. It's no big deal. Cool?
Okay.
Okay. So now we're still running a little bit behind because we got a late start. We may take out one of our exercises. I think, Evelyn, we're probably going to have to take out word at a time story. We'll see.
Oh, okay. All
right. Because I'm improvising, I'm adjusting in the moment. That's how things roll. But we're going to start with an exercise called sound ball that Evelyn is going to facilitate. So I'm going to hand it over to her.
Okay. Sound ball assists you with the idea of being present in the situation and also introduces teamwork. And the object of this exercise is to take an imaginary ball. It can be any size ball or any weight ball. And you pass this ball from person to person with a sound. It doesn't have to be a sound you can spell with letters. It's a sound that you make, and you call the person by name. So I'll be passing to Yael first. I'll go, Yael, whoosh. And she'll catch the ball by saying the sound whoosh and catching the ball. Then she can reshape the ball if she wants, but pass it to the next one, almost like a hot potato, one to the other. Quickly and without too much thought, just make the sound and pass the ball. Does everyone understand?
So let's pass it back and forth between us a few times, Evelyn, just to demonstrate. Okay. And then we'll start, and we'll use the same numbers so you know what order it goes in.
Yeah.
Now, Kyle is at a disadvantage because he's on his phone. But all you need to know, Kyle, is you go after Andrew. He's number 6, and you're number 7.
Got it.
You're going to receive from Andrew, and then you're going to throw it to me because I'm number 1. We start back at the beginning of the numbers.
Okay, sounds good.
I have faith in you. Okay, so Evelyn, let's pass it back and forth a few times.
Okay, so here's my ball. Yael, wah!
Wah! Boom, Evelyn, boom.
Move, move. Yael, beep!
Beep! Evelyn, turk it.
Turk it. Woo!
Woo! You get the idea? We're going to go in order from numbers 1 through 7, and then Kyle's going to pass it back to me. Now, here's the trick, my dear friends. If you're normal people, and I assume you are, you're probably already planning something clever to do. Let go of that. Do not plan ahead. The whole point of this game, the whole point of improvising, and Kyle, you probably know this from improvising on piano, is to be in the moment, not to plan ahead of time. So you catch this ball. Here's the beauty of it. You can't be wrong. There's no wrong in this game. It doesn't have to be brilliant. You catch the ball and you might go, bleh. That's great. That's your offering. So don't think ahead. Challenge yourself to, in the moment, catch that ball and throw it to the next person with something new. You know, I thought we were going to have more people so that we were going to use the names. Oh, you know what? Let's still use the names because Kyle is on his phone. Yep. We're going to still use the names. So you call the person's name, and then you throw the ball to them with a new sound. By the way, the ball can be big, small, heavy, light, whatever. Okay, so I'm number 1. I'm going to start. And I'm throwing to Evelyn.
Whoop! Eileen.
Sorry.
Sorry. Whoop! Eileen.
Kaylin. Bing.
Bing! Vincent. Blah.
Blah. Andrew.
Vincent. All right, thank you. Kyle.
Yael, zoom.
Zoom! Evelyn. Doink.
Doink. Pa! Eileen.
Ah, Kaylin. Wrong.
Vincent. Blah.
Blah. Andrew.
Kyle.
Oh, it's me. What?
Yeah.
Yale. Woof.
Woof. Okay, pretty good. Can we try it one more time without calling names? Can you handle that, Kyle?
Yep,
When
I can
you
handle it.
see Andrew on your screen and he's throwing something, it's going to you. Let's just
Okay.
try it one time really quick without names because it'll go
Okay.
faster. Okay, everyone ready? Okay, so I go to Evelyn. Honk.
Honk. Wheesh.
Blah.
Beep boop.
Woof. Bash.
Yay, give yourselves a hand. Woo! Okay, awesome. All right. So the second game that we're going to do, well, first of all, any thoughts about that game? I mean, it was silly. It was fun. What'd you get out of it, though? How might that apply to your work? Anything?
Passing the buck to somebody else.
Well, it could be. If you did it correctly, you had to be in the moment. You had to think on your feet. You had to be creative, right? Cool. All right. And teamwork. You had to work as a team.
Yeah.
How many times are you involved in a process where you can't do your part until the person who's responsible for sending you something gives you the thing so that then you can sign off it and send it to the next person who does their thing? We do it all the time in work processes. So it's an example of that as well. We're going to do one of my favorite games now. It's called Three Things. And we're going to go in order again, but I think we'll go in the same order so as not to confuse you. We're all going to put our fists in front. It's kind of hard in Zoom because we only have these little boxes. Put your fists where they show in the camera. On the count of three, we're all going to go like this. We're going to go 3 things. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 3
Things. Things.
And I'm going to start, and I'm going to pass a category to Evelyn. I'm going to say, Evelyn, what are 3 things that, and then I'll name a category. And she is going to have to very quickly, without thinking, come up with 3 things. Now, here's the trick. You can't plan ahead because you don't know what category the person's going to give you. And do not waste time thinking. Don't take a lot of time thinking, oh, I got to be clever or it's got to make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. If your mind goes blank, and believe me, that happens a lot of times. It happens to me. You can do gibberish. So Evelyn, give me a category and I'll demonstrate what to do when your mind goes blank.
Yeah, what are 3 things on the bookcase?
3 things on the bookcase: books, blah, 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 and moo, moo, moo. Yay! Does it, it's fine. Better to go fast with something stupid and silly than to go, let's see, I think I have books and, oh God, what else goes on? No, that's stupid. What? No, don't do that. Just really quickly, 3 things. Doesn't have to make sense. And it's actually quite delightful when it doesn't make sense. Ready to try it? Let's go.
Sure.
Okay, so everybody put your fists out there. 1, 2, 3. 3
Things.
Things.
Evelyn, 3 things that you wish would just go away.
3 things to go away: the moon, the sun, the ebb tide.
And we're all gonna go, yay!
Yay.
With appreciation. Okay, Evelyn's turn. We're all gonna go 3 things. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 3.
3 things.
Things.
Lee, what are 3 things in the window?
3 things on the window: a cat, a smushed bug, a window pane.
Yay!
Yay.
Eileen, you're up.
Okay.
3 things.
Things.
Kaylin, what are 3 things that use electricity?
3 things that use electricity: phones, chargers, and a computer.
Yay!
Yay!
3
3
Things. Vincent, what are 3 things that you eat every day?
3 things that I eat every day is food, snacks, and food. Yay!
Yay!
Andrew. Oh, wait. 3
3
things.
things.
3 things.
Andrew, what are 3 things that have legs?
Bugs, cats, and dogs.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay.
Three.
Three things.
Kyle, what are 3 things you wish you hadn't put on a piece of paper?
That will be my pen, my hand, and my watch.
Yay!
1, 2, 3.
Three.
Three
Things.
things.
What are 3 things that lands on the moon?
Lunar rover, Swiss cheese, and my dreams. Yay!
Yay.
Okay. So how was that game? Was that fun?
Pretty cool.
That was it. We came full circle. So again, that one's just kind of silly and fun, but it's an exercise in creative thinking in the moment. You suddenly get a question in court that you weren't expecting, and you just got to go with it, right? Okay. We're going to do one now. Hang on a second. Let me see if this will work. Oh, it worked. Everybody open your chat box. You all know how to do that by scrolling to the bottom of the screen with your mouse. I hope you can do it on your phone, Kyle. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I got my chat, but I think it closes me up for the video, but I think it's okay. I got it.
Yeah, but we'll make it work. Okay. So this is a game called Story Spine. And this was invented by an improv teacher. And again, this is on the handy dandy handout that you were all sent. So you've got this. You don't have to scribble it down now. A guy named Ken Adams. He is the director of a group in the East Bay called Synergy Theater. And he, in helping his improvisers come up with stories, he realized in studying stories that they all had a typical arc, whether it's children's books or fairy tales or movies or novels or theater, whatever, they follow a typical arc. And so he studied it and he came up with this template. And if you follow this template and you take turns, each person saying one sentence that starts with these words, you will have a story that makes sense. So a story starts with, I mean, often like fairy tale starts with once upon a time. And that's sort of setting, you know, what is this world? What's happening in this situation? And then every day, you know, the story usually doesn't start with something, you know, incredible happening. It's sort of setting it, here's the background. Here's the, you know, the life of this person. Number 3, but one day, because we're not going to be watching a movie or a play if it's just the everyday, something special happens this time. That's why we're watching it. So that's like the defining moment that sets in motion a string of events. One day, something happens. And then 3 times, because of that, because of that, and because of that. And these are consequences like dominoes that move the story along until finally, number 7, that's the climax. Something happens where something changes that's going to make a big change in our story. And then number 8, and ever since then, so now it's kind of winding down our story. And then number 9, and the moral of the story is, now here's the interesting thing about this, why I think this is great for attorneys. How many of you in court have to tell a story? You're telling a story about your client, especially if you're whether you're a defense or prosecutor, right? You're telling a story and how you are depicting this person who's been charged, right? I don't know whether you're, you know, criminal attorneys or what, but I'll just use that as an example. So if you follow this outline, you will tell a coherent story instead of jumping all around. So we're going to do it today just for fun. And to get us started, let's see, we've got 7 people here, so a few people will get to go more than once. But your numbers will correspond with the numbers on the story spine. And Kaylin, you get to play too. You don't have to write anything on this one, so you can just unmute yourself and play along. And to get us started, let's get a title for our story. It doesn't have to be law related, but it could be. What's a title of a story that's never been told? Who's got one? Raise your hand if you've got one. Kyle, I can't tell if your hand is up. Was it up?
Oh, no, but I guess I could make up a title on the spot.
Good.
The cat that doesn't want to eat.
The cat that doesn't want to eat. Wonderful. That's the title of our story. The
Oh,
cat
okay.
that doesn't want to eat. So I'm number one. I'm going to start with Once Upon a Time, and then I'll help direct this in case you get lost, because then Evelyn will be every day. You can see everyone can see the chat, right?
Mhm.
The cat that doesn't want to eat. Once upon a time, there was a cat named Harvey who didn't like to eat. Now,
Every day, Harvey's mistress would hand out a bowl of beautiful chopped tuna and lovely little cat bits, and the cat, Harvey, would just turn up his nose and walk away.
Okay, number three, Eileen.
But one day, Harvey's mistress did not put out food, and Harvey wondered where the mistress was.
Because of that, Harvey went outside of the house and looked for her outside.
As he was walking about outside, sniffing the different rose bushes and grass and weeds tumbling about, he saw up in the sky.
Well, finish the sentence.
Oh, I thought we could finish in the middle of it. He saw up in the sky an unknown object.
I'm
that he
sorry,
had
you
never
broke
seen
up.
before.
An unknown what?
Object.
Object that he had never seen before.
Okay, Andrew, number six. Because of that,
Because of that, Harvey thought he would try something different, something he'd never done before. He thought he'd eat.
we've got interference going on. I
I
think everybody's going to have to mute themselves except the person talking. Can everyone mute themselves? Okay, except Andrew. It's your turn. Would you say that one more time, Andrew? Unmute yourself. Thank
Sure.
you.
Because of that, seeing something he'd never seen before, he thought he would try something he'd never done before, which was to have something to eat.
Kyle, you're on.
Yep. Until finally, he jumped up and grabbed the object by the tiny little claws of the little Harvey has and stuffed the whole thing in his mouth.
And ever since then, Harvey discovered that as long as he could stuff the whole thing in his mouth, he loved to eat. Evelyn, you get the moral.
And the moral of the story is perhaps it's not what you eat, but how you eat it.
Yay!
That's really funny.
Yeah, I don't know why we're getting all that interference, but we might have to deal with muting. That, Zoom is wonderful in many ways and frustrating in many ways. So what do you think of that exercise? How many of you could think of a way that using this, well, first of all, did that story make sense?
Kind of.
I know.
Yeah.
It did.
A little bit.
It did. If I gave you an exercise where I said, we're going to tell a story one sentence at a time, and each person had a sentence, but we didn't have a template, believe me, because I've done that exercise. It goes all over the place, and it gets really convoluted. But having a template like this helps you to tell a coherent story. How many of you think that might help you to have a template in how you tell your stories in court? Because lawyers are storytellers. Absolutely. So I'm not saying you have to use this exact one. I'm pretty sure you're not going to go into court and say, once upon a time. But let me tell you about my client, George, right? George grew up in poverty. Every day he had to struggle to find enough to eat. You might be painting this picture of this client and why he ended up in circumstances that he did end up in, right? You could think of a situation like that. Okay, so at this point, I think, Evelyn, we're going to skip the word at a time story.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the pro-con speech, and Evelyn and I are going to demo it first. This is an exercise in advocacy, right? Because when you are an attorney, you are arguing for a particular opinion, right? A particular point of view. How many of you have ever been caught off guard because the other side is presenting points that you weren't expecting and you're not necessarily ready with an argument against those points? Who's been in that situation? whether it's as an attorney or a debate team or anything like that, right? So this is an exercise that forces you to think about both points of view, both sides of an issue. And Evelyn and I are going to demo it, and then Kaylin is going to put you in breakout rooms. Let's see, we have got, I think what's going to happen is Eileen, we're going to have you participate. So there's an even number, and there'll be 2 breakout rooms, each with 2 people. And when you get in your breakout room, you're going to figure out, well, first of all, I'll give you a prompt for how you figure out who goes first. But just to demo it for you, one person's going to be the judge, and one person's going to be the attorney. And then you're going to trade roles, and you're each going to get 2 minutes to play this role, and then you're going to switch. And Kaylin will give you a message, a broadcast message to say, hey, it's time to switch roles. So let's say that Evelyn is the judge and I'm the attorney, okay? She's going to give me a topic. Usually when I do this, I say director and speaker and actor, but for this group, I'm going to say judge and attorney. She's going to give me a topic, any topic that I need to speak on. Now, I will leave it to all of you. It could just be something fun and silly, like talk about the benefits of gardening, you know, or it could be, if you want to get into legal issues, as long as your partner is comfortable with that, you can feel free to go there, because all of you who are participating in this are attorneys. And if you want to, you know, talk about the merits of some legal issue, you can go for it. So you can make this as light or as serious as you want. I leave it to you. So Evelyn is going to give me a topic, and then she's going to clap her hands and she's going to say pro. And I have to speak in favor of this subject. And she's going to make it just an everyday subject, because I'm not an attorney. An everyday subject, something I could speak about. And then without letting too much time go by, maybe a sentence or two, she's going to clap her hands again and say con. And without missing a beat, I'm going to have to shift gears and speak against that issue on the other side. And then without letting too much time go, she's going to say pro. And then she's going to say con and pro and con. She's going to go faster and faster until we're probably just going to both end up laughing. And then we will switch roles, although we won't do that for the demo. But when you're in your room with your partner, you'll switch roles and you'll go back and forth. The other person will be the judge who gives the topic. And then will clap their hands and say pro and con. And their partner will be the attorney and try to speak on both sides of the issue. So I'm going to demo this, because if you can, try to stop the person even like mid-sentence and see, it's kind of fun. Can they change gears in the middle of a sentence to the other topic? So hang on a second, get a sip here. Okay, Evelyn, give me a topic.
The importance of street murals, pro.
Street murals are public art, and it's so important for people to express themselves, but that creates graffiti. I mean, really, shouldn't our streets be free? All this stuff is so beautiful. I mean, really, it is artwork, and I think it's important to accept it as such. But the thing is that what if a store owner gets a mural on their store on the wall and they don't want it? Well, it's tough luck, because it's art. Okay, so does that give you an idea? I am going back and forth without stopping and going or if you can. Now, I've done this before, so I've had more practice. Do the best you can. See if you can shift gears in the middle. It forces your brain to very quickly go on both sides of an argument. And then you'll switch roles and your partner will go. Now, so that you don't waste time figuring out who goes first, I'm going to help you. When you get in the breakout room with your partner, first thing you're going to do is figure out whose birthday is coming up the soonest in the future. That person will go first, and they will be the judge. They'll come up with a topic. Don't waste a lot of time. It doesn't have to be brilliant, just any topic. And you'll give it to your partner, clap your hands and say pro. And then again, keep switching. Don't forget to keep switching back and forth. You have 2 minutes. Kaylin will give you a broadcast message saying 2 minutes are up, switch roles. You'll switch roles. When those 2 minutes are up, you'll have another minute or two to talk about this exercise. What did you learn from it? How might you use it? You'll get a notice that says breakout rooms will be closing in 60 seconds from Kaylin, and then you'll know that you'll have 60 seconds to talk about, well, okay, that was fun, but how might this help us as attorneys in learning how to speak on our feet on both sides of an issue? And it also helps you anticipate what the other side is thinking. If you plan your argument, you only think of your argument and you don't anticipate what they're going to throw at you, you could be in trouble, right? So any questions before we break off into rooms? First thing you're going to do is find out whose birthday is coming up the soonest. That person's going to be the judge. Give them a topic, pro con for 2 minutes. When you get the signal, switch roles. And then when you get the other signal that breakout rooms will close in 60 seconds, talk about what did we learn from this? Okay? Okay, go Kaylin.